Welcome back to Better Developer Docs. In this video, I'm going to show you how you can set up your WordPress site on Bluehost. There are a bunch of different scenarios with which you might find yourself in before setting up your site. So I've tried to describe all the different ones that you may be in. So you just have to read through this article. There'll be a link in the description below, and you can select which one applies to you. For example, I've just titled them quite easily. You have no domain and you have no Bluehost account. So that's just starting from scratch. Or the second option is if you do have a domain already, but you still don't have a Bluehost account. The third option there is if you haven't bought a domain name yet, but you do already have a Bluehost account. Fourth option is if you have both a domain and a Bluehost account. And the fifth option is if you actually want to migrate a pre-existing WordPress site to your Bluehost account. So let's run through all of those use cases. So in the first use case, you don't have a domain and you don't have a Bluehost account. So the first thing you need to do is go and get a Bluehost account. There is a link here, which I will leave in the description as well, which is to an article which is describing or breaking down really all the different Bluehost accounts that are available based on your budget and also your skill level using or doing server admin, basically. So if you don't have an account yet, you can sign up from here, and this article will take you through how to choose the best plan with Bluehost for you. And in this particular case, we don't actually have a domain. So during the account setup process with Bluehost, they will actually assign to you a subdomain of on Bluehost, which will basically be something like yoursite.bluehost.com or something along those lines. It's just a temporary URL that you can use to access your WordPress site. And then at a later date, you can assign a proper domain name to it once you've actually bought one and decided which one you want and bought it and all that. If you are in need of a place to buy the domain name, then you can check out namecheap.com, which is what I use. However, there's many of these services, so you might be using another one. It's also possible to buy a URL from within your Bluehost dashboard, which is over here. So under domains, there's actually a purchase domain link over here. So you could actually do that as well. But yeah, whenever you decide to do that, you can come back and set that up later. So once you've been through the process of setting up the Bluehost account, Bluehost will actually install a WordPress site for you. And at that point, you will be able to access that by going to My Sites and then selecting the site that has just been created. And then from here, you can manage things from here. However, I prefer to manage things from the WordPress CMS, which you can click on. You can click login to WordPress here, and that will log you into your dashboard. From there, it's a case of understanding how to use this dashboard. So if you're not familiar with WordPress software already, you might want to do there's a link here to a free customization guide for WordPress that I wrote. And if you're completely new to WordPress software, then this is a good place to start just to understand what this dashboard is and what it allows you to do. The very basic gist of it is that there is this master left-hand menu on the corner, on the left-hand side over here, where you can access all the things that you want. So you could create a new post here, which would be AKA a blog post. You could create a page, you could check comments, you can add a new aesthetic to the site by clicking on themes. You could install functionality by going to plugins and adding new, or you could do a bunch of other other tasks as well. But yeah, if you're brand new to WordPress, go and check out this customization guide. If you want to go further than that with learning how to use the CMS, or even as far as becoming a developer yourself with WordPress and charging clients for your WordPress services, and also then you could go and click this link here, which describes all the various courses with which Udemy has online in WordPress for you to take. And yeah, they're very affordable and comprehensive, so feel free to set those up. Um, that's use case number one. Use case number two is if you already have a domain, but you don't already have a Bluehost account. So this is relatively simple. All you have to do is go to this link here, and I'll put this down below in the description for you. This link will take you through which Bluehost plan is appropriate based on your budget and your skill level with server admin, and will help you to find a plan which is appropriate for you. So click that, and then during that, once you've selected a plan and you go through the setup process, you will be asked to enter the domain that you've already purchased, and that will be used as what's known as your primary domain. And so in the account setup process, you will have that domain assigned to a WordPress site, um, which will be set up for you in that sign up process. And then once you're there, again, you can go to My Sites and then select from the list of sites there and choose to manage the site, either here or here, by going to the CMS. And again, if you're fresh, then check out these guides here, links below in the description, to learn how to use WordPress a little bit more in depth if you need it. But yeah, this is probably the most common scenario you're probably here. In this particular use case, you don't already have a domain, but you do have a Bluehost account. So there's a couple ways that you might have come at this. Um, if you set up the Bluehost account um, with a temporary domain as your primary domain, then you will also have a site here under My Sites, which you can access. And then from there, hit the CMS, learn to customize it, and manage your site from there. At a later date, you could come back and buy a domain name, um, a more permanent domain name like yoursite.com or whatever, and or in the case of this site, betterdeveloperdocs.com, you could buy that and then set that up with the WordPress site that was initially created with the account, and sort of change it over. The way that you would do that is, one, you would go and get your domain name from wherever you're getting it from. I use namecheap.com, but there are many companies which provide that service. You can even buy those within the Bluehost account if you wanted to. If you wanted to go to domains and then purchase domain, you could also buy one there. But anyway, go and buy your URL or your domain name from somewhere, and then come back to your dashboard, go to domains, and then assign. And what you're going to do is select this second option here. You're going to type the name of your URL here, and then it's going to automatically check if you've changed your name servers or not. So if you have bought the domain from a place outside of Bluehost, then you will have to change the name servers in the account with which you bought the domain name. So for example, if I buy my domain name at namecheap.com, then I need to go to the namecheap.com site, log into my account there, find the area in their dashboard where I can change the um, the name servers for this particular URL or domain name that I just bought, and then change those those name servers to be the ones of Bluehost. So these here are the Bluehost name servers. They won't change. You can use those basically forever. So they're listed on the site there. And then once you've done that, that domain name will then be associated with the original site, which is created at the time of the Bluehost account setup. Um, and so that should all just kind of marry up. Um, then there's some other options here which you don't necessarily need to do. Just read the descriptions and see which ones apply to you. And then this one, you you may want to just select the directory with which your previous um, temporary URL or domain name website was located at, and just have it reference that directory. But yeah, basically just follow these instructions here. Yeah, if you get into trouble on this page, then just go and find the help area by clicking the question mark up here. And from here, you can either search through the knowledge base or you can start a chat, which will bring up a little chat widget here for you just to speak directly to the Bluehost staff. I figured I'd just refer you to the Bluehost staff because this stuff is quite dependent on your specific scenario and there's a lot of details. So most of the time you can get away with just following through with the instructions on page. But if you get confused, then you've got Bluehost there, Bluehost support to help you through, and they're usually within 15 or so minutes they can sort of figure it out for you. The next use case is if you already have a domain and you already have a Bluehost account. So if you created an account with Bluehost and used a temporary Bluehost URL, then you just need to do basically the same thing as the last use case scenario, which was when you set up the account without having a domain name, then you will find that here under My Sites, you can access that WordPress site. And then later on, you can come back after you've purchased a domain name and assign that domain name to that site that was created originally on Bluehost account creation. And that should all work out just as the last scenario. Actually, it's the same scenario. I'm not sure why I've gotten it two there. Got two different sections for this, but yeah, it is a very, very similar scenario. However, there could be another scenario here where you set up the Bluehost account and now you're doing what's known as like an add-on domain where you're actually managing two or more different sites from the one Bluehost server account, which is also possible. So in that case, what you would do is you would, one, buy the domain, right? You've already got the domain. And then two, you would go to assign and then assign that domain here. And then three, what you would do is you would go to advanced and then you would scroll down to Softaculous, which is here, and you would select, this is basically an installer, right? It will allow you to install a new WordPress installation and associate it with the domain with which you just assigned. And at that point, you would then be able to go back to your My Sites area and then access the newly created website and log into the CMS and then start adding plugins or themes or customizing in whatever way you desire. So yeah, also in that step, just like in the previous step, you're going to have to change the name servers. So again, they're printed on screen. just going to log into wherever you bought the domain name from, find the area where you're going to change your name servers, and add these Bluehost name servers. Again, that's only if you bought the domain name with a company which is not Bluehost. If you did buy the domain name with Bluehost, then they'll already be pointing to these and you don't have to do anything. So the last option is if you want to migrate your previous or pre-existing WordPress site to Bluehost, then you can also do that. That's quite a common task. And there's at least two different steps to doing that. You kind of need to figure out which one of these applies to you. So if you're trying to migrate, um, then you most likely already have a domain name, which means you would use this option here, and you just need to double check if you have Bluehost account yet. If you don't, you can go here to check out all the different options, and then just go back to by clicking this link, and then you can go back to this step where you both have a domain and a Bluehost account, and you can just follow the instructions along there. Once you've done that, come back to step 2, and this is actually covering how you can physically migrate the exact same pre-existing site to Bluehost and have it all run on the same URL. So basically, I've just provided a link to another article where I am running you through that whole process. The short answer is there's two ways to do this. The first way is to use a plugin, which is called All-in-One WP Migration. This is the easiest option, and literally can take 15 to 20 minutes. Even if you have a large site, this plugin is free to use for most people, I believe. Um, and there's a description here, step by step, of how to use that plugin to export your site, um, and then also how to import the site, or sorry, export your site from your previous host and then import your site into Bluehost. And that's going to take you through actually assigning the domain and doing all the technical steps required to import that. And then at the end, just takes you through troubleshooting. So that's how to do it with a plugin. There is another process which you could do, which is a manual migration, which is harder. And I would really only suggest this to developers, because this is, you're going to have to go to the database in PHPMyAdmin and export the database. You're going to have to edit the database files because WordPress hard codes its its URLs, and then you're going to have to import the site, um, both the database and the files as well, including all the media. So yeah, that's a bit more cumbersome and lengthy, but I've described it here just in case you do want to do that. Most of the time, I wouldn't suggest you do the manual over the all-in-one WP migration option. However, just in case this doesn't work for you for some reason, there is a manual process described in this page here, also on the Better Developer Docs blog. So I'll leave a link to that below. And there is one other option, which is if you don't have a domain yet, and you want to migrate a site to Bluehost, then you can just click here, which will take you up to one of the previous options we discussed, which is very similar. So run through that process, and then go back to step 2 and either do the migration process either with the plugin or the manual one as per your needs. So yeah, thanks guys. I know that this video and this topic is quite confusing if you haven't used Bluehost before, and also there's just quite a lot of variables depending on your particular situation. So apologies if this video was a little bit unclear, but if you are struggling to understand it, head over to this blog, which the video is based on, and go and read in detail how to do each of these. There's step-by-step instructions for basically everything. So yeah, hopefully you can follow along. Thanks, guys. See you in the next one.